where you looked around and you realized, I'm not sure I should actually be here. It feels a little bit uncomfortable. It feels like you're an outsider. Last year, I was traveling with a friend to the US for some meetings, and I booked some accommodation for us in Tampa Bay in Florida. And being the frugal is what some people would say, cheapskate is what other people would say, person that I am, I booked this accommodation. I thought, it's close to where we need to be. It's not crazy expensive, and looks okay in the photos. And when you organise accommodation, you look at the photos, and then you get there, and you compare what you see with what was in the photos, and there's a bit of discrepancy in your mind. Our plane arrived late, and we ended up getting to this place. It was around 11:30 p.m. And we pulled in, and I expected it to be dead quiet. It's the middle of the night. It's going to be empty. It wasn't. It was a lot of things happening. There was a lot of people around. There was people with literally someone walking around with a boombox, ghetto blaster, listening to music from it, walking around our apartments. There were cars coming and going and dropping off things, and people exchanging things in brown paper bags. And we went, right. For a moment we thought, should we actually stay here? But not only did it feel like we didn't belong, we just looked like we didn't belong either. Everyone had a different ethnicity to us. We stood out pretty clearly. And if you've been in that situation, you know that it's not comfortable. It feels different. It can feel awkward. And today we're meeting a lady who probably knew what that felt like. She understood what it was to be an outsider. She understood what it was to be experiencing feelings of discomfort and probably exclusion. But her grace and her grit as she goes through this story gives us a powerful lesson to learn from. So we've been going through this series on women in the Bible and just the things that we can learn from them, the experiences they went through and what they teach us as followers of Jesus, as explorers of faith, and as people in general. So if you have a Bible, I want to invite you to turn to Matthew chapter 15. Matthew chapter 15, and we're going to read from verse 21 to 28. If you're using one of these, I think it's page 841 on your blue Bibles. Matthew chapter 15. From verse 21 to 28. And it starts off like this. Leaving that place, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. So what had happened before this, there's a lot of things that have kind of been happening one after the other in the story up until this point. Jesus' cousin John had died at the hands of Herod, and Jesus withdrew to another place to kind of deal with that, but then people follow him, and so he feeds all these people, 5,000 people there for food, and he feeds them, and then at the end of that, Jesus kind of withdraws again for some time alone, and the disciples cross the water, and it's that story where Jesus meets Peter on the water, and Peter says, "Lord, if it's you, can I come out?" And Peter walks on water, but then looks back and kind of loses his faith a little bit and starts drowning, and Jesus encourages him, admonishes him, walks with him back into the boat. And then Jesus has an interaction with the Pharisees, these teachers and these religious leaders who didn't like what he was doing. And so once again, we have Jesus, this pattern of he's withdrawing again from what's going on around him to have some time. And so he withdraws to this place, the region of Tyre and Sidon. Now, if you look up here, you can see Nazareth kind of in the middle. That's where Jesus grew up. Mount of Olives is at Jerusalem down the bottom here. And Tyre and Sidon are up there on the top left-hand side. So it's a bit of a trek, probably about 30 k's from 30, 40 k's from where they were. They withdraw to this place. And the interesting thing is, Tyre and Sidon were not Israelite towns. They're in this area called Phoenicia, and these people were not followers of God. They were not like the Israelites. They were different. The Jews saw them as outsiders. They were Gentiles, and they just don't mix, and you don't go to their area, and they don't come to yours. And most of them were ignorant of who the God of Israel actually was. And it raises the question, why? If they lived so close to these people who were following God and had seen God work in their lives and were called by God to be a witness, be a light to the nations around them, Phoenicia being one of those nations or areas, why hadn't these people heard about this God of Israel and had a chance to get to know him? So maybe as Jesus goes to this region to withdraw, maybe he's not just wandering around to find a quiet place. Maybe he's actually intentionally heading to this space, into Gentile territory, so that he can walk into the margins, into the spaces between where the Israelites, the followers of God, the revealers of God lived, and those around them who maybe had not yet had a chance to hear what God's like. And it's in this uncomfortable space that he meets someone who seems to be the very definition of marginalized. If we keep reading, it says, a Canaanite woman from the vicinity came to him crying out, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is demon-possessed and is suffering terribly." So this woman, we don't have a name. Was it okay if we call her Kay? Because it just seems to fit, and it's easier if someone has a name. We can kind of attach something to them. Let's say this lady called Kay comes up, and she comes to Jesus, and she walks into a crowd of people, a group of people that she does not belong to. And for every reason, she really shouldn't be there. She has the wrong ethnicity. She's a Canaanite. These are like the historical enemies of Israel. Remember, if you read back into Exodus, Genesis, God said, I'm going to give you my nation, give you a nation. It's going to be a promised land. It's the land of Canaan. And so they had come in to this place. It's a place that God gave them. And this was Israel's land. And they were to be a light to the Canaanites. They hadn't quite done that. And so she's the wrong ethnicity to be mixing with Jesus and his disciples. She's the wrong gender. She's a woman. And in that time, in that place, they were socially and religiously marginalized. She's the wrong religion. She's not a Jew. She's not a follower of Israel's God. She's a pagan. She's outside of what they saw as God's blessings for people. And not only all of that, but she comes carrying this incredible burden and pain of having a daughter who is suffering terribly. And she comes into this place as an other, as an outsider. And in every way, she's coming into a group of people who have a system where basically it's designed to keep her out. You probably know what that's like. Left off the team, excluded from the game, not included on the invite list, overlooked for every promotion, overlooked for the job that you thought would be perfect for you. The perpetual outsider always looking in. But there's something about this woman because Kay, she's obviously heard about Jesus. She's discovered something about Jesus, and so she goes to him, and it says she's crying out. This is not just oh, hi, Jesus, by the way, can I have a conversation? This is a woman who is desperate to see something happen in her life, in the life of her daughter. She is looking for grace and healing. And so she comes to Jesus, and Jesus, full of compassion and love and mercy, says nothing. It's like the first example of ghosting. He's quiet. Jesus didn't answer a word to what this woman brings to him. That's cold, isn't it? Like, she's suffering. She's put herself in a vulnerable position. She's stepped out of her comfort zone, and Jesus doesn't say a thing. That's not like him, is it? Like, why the silence? Jesus, why don't you say something? Why don't you comfort? Why don't you do something that you can do? Why don't you step in and reveal who you are and your power and your might? It's an easy question to ask, especially when you feel like you're excluded and you're on the outside. But maybe there's a bit more going on here than we see just in the words. Remember the ethnic rivalry that exists between one group and the other group? One group is inside, the other is outside. One group is included, the other is excluded. What if Jesus is silent? Not so much because he doesn't want to answer her request, but because he's doing this for his disciples. He's silent and he's not answering because he's letting them fill in some blanks in their heads. You might do this, maybe you don't, maybe I'm just revealing what's inside my head, which could be scary. But when you see something or you see a conversation or you see something panning out, do you sometimes in your head start jumping to the logical conclusion that you see happening as a result of what's going on? And you can already see in your mind what's taking place, and you're kind of building the narrative yourself without it even having to play out in front of you. You kind of start making assumptions and seeing things, and you're going, oh, why are they doing that? Or no, that's not going to end well. Don't do that. That's going to be bad. And you're already seeing in your head where it's going, thinking that you know where it's like, but also having your biases and your prejudices and your subconscious ideals and values explaining what's about to take place before it even does happen, if it does. I wonder if that's what Jesus is providing an opportunity for the disciples. And what leads me to that thought is what happens next. They end up filling the void. This woman is crying out, Jesus, help me, help my daughter. And the disciples say, send her away. She keeps crying out to us. It really sounds like they're annoyed, doesn't it? It sounds like they're going, Jesus, can you just deal with this? Because we're getting sick of the crying and the screaming and the requesting and the asking. And just can you just deal with it and do something about this? Can you make it stop? And so Jesus does do something. But it's not what you'd expect. He answered, I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. Like, what? How is this helpful? Is he talking to the disciples? Is he talking to Kay? Oh, we're not sure. But it seems like this confirms exactly what the disciples were thinking, doesn't it? They had this view, she's a Gentile, Jesus, she's a woman, she's not from our religion. I think we just need to step away from this situation. It's not right. And here they are just affirming that idea. Hey, Jesus sent her away, and Jesus goes, yeah, well, I was sent for the sheep of Israel, not for other nations. In that moment, based on what we understand of the disciples from the rest of the Gospels, it's probably not a jump to suggest that they were hearing this comment and they go, yes, that is right. We know that the Messiah, the one who's going to save us, the anointed one, is going to come. They're going to come to Israel. He's going to overthrow the Romans. He's going to restore our kingdom. He's going to be our king. He's going to make us once again the nation that rules over Canaan, the promised land. And this is right. This is for Israel. This is for us. He's come for us, for our people, for our benefit, for our privilege. Archbishop William Temple said, "The church exists primarily for those who are still outside of it." Now, if this is your first time here or you're new to being a follower of Jesus, then you can just listen on the sidelines for a second while I talk to those who are followers of Jesus. We have to be really careful not to adopt the same attitude as the disciples. The good news of knowing Jesus and walking with Jesus and living with Jesus is not for your benefit alone. It's easy as an individualized Western culture to see that, like everything else, Christianity is for me. Jesus is for me. My belief is for me. And it's about what I get out of it. But actually, yes, it is a life-changing relationship that you have with Jesus, but you are called to live that out in your workplace, in your neighborhood, in your family, in your community. You're called to reveal that good news of Jesus to the people around you and invite them to also experience it. I don't know if you've seen some things in the newspaper, social media, where it talks about Melbourne's best kept secret. Have you seen any of those things? It's like Melbourne's best kept secret is these gardens or this walk or this cafe or this dumpling bar or insert whatever it is. But you see these come up and the irony is, well, it's obviously not anymore, is it? And you go to those places and, yeah, they can be pretty packed because they're actually not a secret anymore because someone has shared about it and everyone's gone, oh, yeah, let's go check that out. And they go and check it out and they go, yes, that is good. When Jesus says that he's coming for the lost sheep of Israel, he's not affirming exclusion, he's revealing it. He's not saying, yes, I only came for Israel. He's saying, yeah, I've come for Israel, but not just for Israel. I've come for everyone. I've come for the whole world. And so I wonder if when Jesus makes this comment, he's showing the disciples, hey guys, I need you to see things a little bit differently. I want you to look at this a little bit differently from now on. He's revealing their exclusion so that he can slowly start to pull it apart and dismantle it and break it down. So this woman hears this comment, and instead of driving her away, it actually brings her closer. This woman has grit. She is determined. And so she comes to Jesus and she kneels before him. And that word there for kneel is the word proskuneo in Greek, which is the word we translate as worship. It's to prostrate, to bow down, to get on your knees, to get in a position of submission and surrender. And she does that and she utters these three powerful words. Lord, help me. She's got nothing left. She's got no place else to go, no one else who can help her. Kay has grit. She has grit in abundance. She is tenacious. She is persistent. Her faith isn't fragile. It's probably more ferocious. She's like, yes, I need to get to Jesus. I will get to Jesus, and I won't let anything stop me. Which is what makes Jesus' response to her even more perplexing. Have a look at what he says. It's not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs. What? Like, this is a passage where Jesus just surprises us in ways we didn't think would be surprised. Is he calling her a dog? Well, that wasn't an uncommon usage of a term for people who weren't followers of the God of Israel. They would actually use this to refer to pagans, Gentiles, others to them. And so I think the disciples probably would have been pretty comfortable with this comment. If they would have gone, oh, did he just say that? I think they would have been quite comfortable with what he said. I'm not sure if you're comfortable or a bit warm, but I'm wondering, Michael, if we can bring the heating down a little bit. Is everyone okay? Everyone's hot? Okay. Thank you. We want you to be comfortable. A little bit, at least. But the word here for dog is little dog. So there was a term for dogs that was like the street dogs, the ferals. There was a term for dogs which was little dog, which was more like the pet. And the implication here is that, is it right to take something that belongs to the kids of the master, something that's going to give them nutrition and sustenance, and throw it to the pet? Jesus says this, but notice he isn't saying no. When she says, Lord, help me, he isn't saying, no, sorry, I can't do that. In one sentence, he does two things. What does he imply about the disciples? These are children. These are kids. They're young in their faith. They're still growing. They haven't matured. These are children of God, yes, but they're still kids. And the second thing he does is he delicately but powerfully, and I think deliberately, outlines the prejudice and exclusivity of the disciples. He's kind of mirroring their thoughts to them and seems to be setting them up for this moment. See, God knows hearts. He knows people. I have no doubt that he could see when Kay came to him and said, Son of David, have mercy on me. He knew that here was a woman who had determination. Here was a woman who was not going to accept no for an answer. She was no ordinary Canaanite woman. And so when Jesus says this, she doesn't walk away. She doesn't give up hope. She says, oh, not that one. She says, yes. Yeah, no, that's true, but even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall through the table. Even dogs get to have those little bits that fall down through the cracks. She takes this metaphor and instead of refuting it, she actually flips it. And she says, look, you know what? If I'm a dog, then I'm okay with that. Because if a dog means that I get a scrap of bread that comes from your table, that's enough. Because I just need one little crumb. That's all I need. And so this isn't self-pity, this isn't self-degradation. This is actually gritty, courageous faith. For her, she's like, I just need a crumb, similar to that other woman of faith who just said, I just need to touch the edge of Jesus' cloak. I just need to touch the edge of his robe. That's all I need. And I think she had a better handle on who God is, on God's character, on God's kingdom than the disciples actually did. She understood that God doesn't discriminate, that God doesn't have favorites, that God doesn't exclude, that he is actually the God of all people. And just to prove it, Jesus praises Kay, this Canaanite woman. She praises her in front of these Jewish men. Woman, you have great faith. You have great faith. He didn't say that to Nicodemus. He didn't say that to Peter. Not too long ago, he'd actually said to Peter, oh, you have little faith. But he says, oh, you of great faith, to a woman who is outside the system. And great faith isn't based on your religious background, your race, your ethnicity, your church attendance, your giving, your involvement, or your status. It's based on a persistent trust in a good God. This woman actually, based on what God asked Israel to do, the church to do, she probably should have heard about God at this point because she was neighbors. She probably should have had some understanding of who God is. But Israel hadn't gone that next step. And so she went looking for God herself. She went to find him. She went seeking, looking, and asking and persisting. And she found Jesus. And Jesus said, your request is granted. And at that moment, her daughter was healed. What do you sense God is inviting you to today? What do you sense he's saying to you? Maybe you resonate with this Canaanite woman. Maybe you get Kay. You understand what it's like to be excluded, to be on the outside. You're in a place of desperation. You're in a place where you need the presence of Jesus. Maybe like her, you're longing for something for someone in your family. Maybe like her, you're feeling like you're alone. Or perhaps you maybe are being challenged by how Jesus dealt with the disciples. And God might be prompting you to consider, what are the barriers I put up? What are the subconscious prejudices that I might hold? Are there people that I subtly avoid, I try not to talk to, that I maybe judge because of how they look, how they live, what they believe, how they struggle? Maybe you've found yourself comfortable in the beautiful community of church and forgotten that we exist for the people outside. I like Jesus' imagery of the table that he uses. It's kind of like you walk into a place and there's a beautiful table set up. And the table is just decorated. There are lots of plates, so you know there's going to be lots of food. It's a big table, so you know there's going to be lots of people there. But you walk up and it says reserved. And you're like, oh, okay, that's not my place. That's not my table. But then Jesus comes in and he pulls up the reserved sign and says, yeah, no, it's reserved for you. This is the table I want you to be at. This is the table you're invited to. This is the table that you are welcome to be part of. And so you go and you sit at that table and you get to experience firsthand the goodness of God. You get to experience firsthand the beauty of his love and community and healing and hope. And you realize, hey, I'm at this table. I'm a child of God. I'm no longer an outsider. I'm actually on the inside with Jesus. But you don't stop there, because you realize, hey, if this table's reserved for people, I have the privilege of inviting others to join the table as well. I can invite them in, and I don't need to worry about the food. I don't need to worry about the menu. I don't need to worry about the dishes, the plating. I don't need to worry about any of that, because Jesus has got it covered. He's just asking you to be the one who goes and invites someone else in, that they too can experience what it's like to be a child of God. So I'm not sure where you're at. This is not between me and you. This is between you and God. But if you sense that he's inviting you into something, or challenging you into something, or encouraging you to consider and reflect, then I just want to encourage you to actually be willing to go to that place, to sit in that, to think of it, to reflect on it, to pray over it, to let him be the one who speaks to you and shift you, shape you, change you, call you, invite you, welcome you, heal you. Today, this week. The team's going to come up and we're going to sing our final song, which is No Longer Slaves. You could probably say no longer dogs, but children of God, invited, accepted, loved. And as we do this, I really want to encourage you to just do your best to block out whatever else you're thinking about, whatever else has got your mind running about what might be coming up after this, and actually just to focus in on the voice of God as he speaks to you and encourages you and walks with you as we worship him.